everyone was like, oh, if you do this sleep training like I did and started at 6 weeks old, they'll sleep through the night by the time they're 12 weeks old. No.
Stop the cap.
Welcome to the bathroom. We've got this lovely vanity mirror behind us. We are planning on remodeling both of our bathrooms within the next year or so. But we just did like a huge house remodel, so you know, eventually you run out of money. You gotta wait for certain things. But I'm also 38 weeks pregnant today, and at my checkup yesterday, I was 4.5 centimeters dilated, 70% effaced, and baby was at like a -3 station. My doctor told me that it's a 50-50 shot at this point on whether or not I make it to 39 weeks, which is when my mom is supposed to get here. Today's Wednesday. She's supposed to get here Tuesday. And then I hit 39 weeks the following Wednesday. So with second babies, like things can move a lot faster than the first. So anyways, I thought it would be fun, since we're about to have another baby, reflect on all the things I wish someone would have told me before we had our first kid, because boy was that a whirlwind, and I have been so emotional the last few days thinking about bringing another baby home, just because that first year of becoming parents is such a whirlwind, and it feels like such an enormous change in your life. It almost just feels odd to bring home a second baby. It feels, I don't know, it feels like you're stepping into this new chapter, and almost like you're doing that year a disservice by not recognizing how challenging but also how beautiful it was. I don't know how to explain it. Like, and it's also sad because me and my husband are going to remember these days with our firstborn, but he's not going to remember. Like, he's going to be turning 2 very shortly after this baby is born. And so he's not going to remember it being just us 3 amigos, but like me and my husband will remember that. I think that's a beautiful thought, but it just breaks my heart that he's not going to remember it. You know, I don't know. I'm also like so excited for him to have a brother, though. I think it's going to be so fun to watch them grow up together. Anyways, but yeah, I think the first thing that I wish I had been more prepared for, and I think like they very briefly touched on it. We took some like parenting classes through the hospital before our first was born. And I actually do recommend those, like if your husband is someone who's not like enveloped in baby world, like most of the time moms are, we're already doing all this research before our babies come. But if your husband's not and they're busy like with, you know, a full-time job, because that was my husband, I actually do recommend the parenting classes. They were very helpful for him. Like I said, they touched on it briefly in parenting class, but that was postpartum depression in men, because I know like a lot of us are aware you can get it as a woman, and already the care for women postpartum is so minuscule, minute. We don't get much attention after birth, but new dads definitely don't get much support at all after birth. And something that we have recently discovered and we are working through, because we're about to have this one, was that my husband, undiagnosed, I think maybe we will see if we can get therapy started soon, but we recently discovered that this anxiety that he has kind of had off and on for his whole life is more OCD related, and I don't mean in like the nitpicking cleaning OCD, I mean in like the true definition of OCD. And if you know someone with OCD in your life, you know what I mean. We recently discovered this, and it would have been really nice to know at the beginning, having a baby, that this is what it was that he was struggling with, because once we had a kid and our routines completely changed, it was extremely difficult for him to have to go through that transition. If you know anyone with OCD, you know like a lot of them depend on their routines, and whenever those are thrown off, it really sends them into spirals of like ruminating and anxiety, sometimes depression, it's like that. So it would have been really, for one, nice to know that that's what he's been dealing with this whole time, and we didn't know. Like, we literally were just like, oh, you just have anxiety. No, it's definitely deeper than that. And I think we're gonna start looking for some outside help, not in a bad way, not like he's in a terrible place right now, but just because now having a kid is such a huge transition, and it did impact him pretty hard at first, that we just want to make sure we have the resource there to make sure that he's taken care of. And not that I'm not here for him and I can't talk to him, because I do every day, but I just feel like having a professional who's able to give you those tools and have an outside perspective of our everyday life is going to be so much more beneficial. My husband went out and picked up the Passion Tango tea because apparently it's supposed to help get labor started. But yeah, I wish I just would have been more aware of like the fact that men can go through postpartum depression and how much it really does change your relationship when you have a kid, because your communication, like, I know for me, I was all over here in baby mode, and at the same time we had a lot going on just in our personal everyday lives. And so my husband's over here trying to manage the personal everyday life, and I'm over here trying to manage the baby. And we would just constantly miss each other on communication. And that was very difficult, because I would say we were excellent communicators before we had a baby. But you really just can't predict like where your headspace is going to be after they show up, like things change. The second thing I wish I would have known was that your baby, they just might not sleep. You can try every sleep training thing there is. Follow every sleep person on TikTok. You might just have a baby who does not sleep. I know for us it was usually teething and gas that caused a lot of our issues with our kiddo not being able to sleep. To this day, and I mean, he's almost 2 now, he still has nights. I'll say like pretty consistently though, for the last 4 months, he's been sleeping through the night. But even through that, if he has a night where he's not feeling good, or he was cutting a tooth or something like that, he does not sleep. Okay, he wants somebody in there to comfort him, and that's okay. I came to peace with that at about 12 months old. I was like, you know what? It is who he is. He obviously doesn't want to go to sleep on his own, and I'm just going to snuggle him and hold him for as long as he lets me, because to be honest with you, he really doesn't even like snuggles that much anymore. But yeah, that's something I wish someone would have told me. They might not. Everyone was like, oh, if you do this sleep training like I did and started at 6 weeks old, they'll sleep through the night by the time they're 12 weeks old. No. And I followed him to a T. Wake windows, making sure I fed him enough, all of it. It didn't work for him. We never did the cried out method. I just couldn't deal with that personally. I don't know where I'm going with my makeup look today. I'm kind of just winging it. I also wish like I would have been easier on myself with the eating, I guess, or baby-led weaning, or I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you, and my in-laws might watch this video, and if in-laws you're watching this, know that this was primarily a me problem, not a you problem. But I stressed myself out a lot over his eating. I had a lot of voices around me that, like, I don't know, kept looking at nutrition labels. It really stressed me out. And so, for whatever reason, that period of time where we were trying to introduce new foods, I just was like stressed constantly. Like, yeah, I don't know. And I wish I just wouldn't have like let that get to me as much, because like kids are gonna eat when they're gonna eat. And now he's almost 2, and he has days where he eats absolutely everything, and he'll eat tons of fruit and veggies and protein, and then he has some days where he doesn't want any of that. He wants a cookie. And I feel like I really just stressed about that a lot early on. So I wish I would have been a little easier. Wish I would have prioritized like leaving the house with my kiddo more, because now that we're like coming up on having our second one, like it honestly feels even more daunting than just taking one out. But like to be honest with you, like it was kind of hard to get him out of the house when he was little because for one, he was born in the winter. So it was hard to get going on that. And then I also ended up taking like a temp job when he was like 7 months old. So I was working during the day. Whereas now I feel like I have a little bit more freedom to be able to take him out. But he was also at an age where there's just not a lot of activities to do for kids until they're like 18 months to 2 years old. I don't know why society is set up like that. Like, let's please have more things to do for babies other than the library, because the library is super crowded. And it's always at like 9 a.m., which is when your baby needs to take a nap. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just never worked out for us to take him out that much when he was that little. But looking back, I wish I would have like tried to make things a priority, whether it be like a picnic just at a park or something, or trying to do a play date. Because I feel like now it's going to be harder to do with the two. But I'm going to make my best efforts to make sure I get out there and take both of them out, because I feel like my oldest still deserves to like go have fun with other kids, even though we have a little baby in the house. I feel like I've been really liking like a really pinky eye lately. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know how to segue into this. There has to be a balance with grandparents and respecting their rules and them respecting your rules. So, for instance, like growing up, when I went to my grandmother's house, it was my grandmother's rules at her house. If I'm not allowed to run over in this certain area or throw a ball over here, I'm not allowed to do that because I'm at my grandmother's house. I'm not at my house. And I want to say for like the first year, for whatever reason, I had a lot of like, oh, well, we let him do that at home kind of a thing, but without actually realizing like, no, this is their space. It's okay for them to have separate rules. But I think in my mind, it was my way of like, he's not having bad behavior. It's just that we don't have that rule. So it's kind of like a justification in my mind, I don't know, to make me feel like I was being a good parent or something. Then I slowly realized like, no, it's okay. He can learn the difference of he's not allowed to do that over here, but he's allowed to do that at home. Yeah, so just finding the balance there, I think. It's tricky, but it's worth it in the long run, because I think as kids get older and they go to school, they need to learn there's different rules in different spaces throughout life. Just like you go to the grocery store, like you're not just gonna walk around with your shirt off. Like it's just a social rule that you're gonna be dressed. Probably not everywhere. I know Florida, it's not like this. But yeah, like kids need to learn that, and that's okay. So that's where I land there. I don't know. This video has kind of been all over the place. I think that's it for things I learned. Sure, there's going to be more. There is a lot more to it. I mean, breastfeeding was a whole adventure in itself. I'm just kind of gearing up to go through it all again and hope it goes well. So what are some things that you learned in your first year of parenthood? If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. If you want more content like this, leave a comment down below, because my comment section has been really lacking lately. But yeah, that's it. Bye guys.